Hi, this time I've decided to speak about high expectations and the importance of believing in people. Simple as that. I've been inspired by the Paralympics. Obviously, I don't see how anybody could have been watching these and not been inspired by these amazing people. But also by marking the Senko Masters portfolios that I've been marking all last week. And one of the things that's mentioned consistently in the portfolio that people are supposed to address as Senkos is having high expectations for our children and our students. Now, that ties in with this whole idea of belief. It's very easy to dismiss something as what the label says it is. The label only accounts for one aspect. It's very one-dimensional if you see it as a label as opposed to as the whole picture. So there are different advantages to having the different needs. Now obviously there are also drawbacks. I'm dyslexic, as anybody who's watched any of my videos will know. Now one of the drawbacks is your self-belief can be very low at times. Your self-esteem can go down when you struggle with something. But the flip side of that is it can really build resilience. I've seen people who find things so easy. They just naturally, they get it, they just do it. They finish their work really quickly, they read quickly, and everything comes easily. But what some of these people do, and by no means all, you can't generalise, but what can happen as a result of that is people can then avoid the things that they struggle with on the basis that if I didn't get it right first time, why would I do it? Because, and this goes back to the growth mindset idea that Dweck talks about, the idea that when you get something wrong, you learn from that, you develop and you build and you build and you build. If you get it right all the time and people go, oh, aren't you clever? What happens is when somebody can't do something, they start to think, oh, does that mean I'm not clever? And they doubt themselves, and therefore they avoid the things that they struggle with and just do the things that are going to keep getting them that praise of aren't you clever? When you have some form of learning need or disability, then what happens is you get used to finding out that you get it wrong. I mean, with my doctorate, I did not get through everything first time. I had to do rewrites. I learned from every one of those rewrites. And I think as a lecturer and a tutor and supervisor, I work better because of the errors I made and what I learned from doing that. And I did have the most amazing supervisor, so that helps. I learned a lot from her also about disability. She's somebody who had, she was plugging something in and got an electric shock, and it led her with disabilities. Now, she rides, she does cycling as a paracyclist. Amazing, absolutely amazing. She is in pain all the time, but she just gets on with it. She's the most positive person imaginable. She's just, totally inspirational. I hadn't realised before speaking with her that people competing who have disabilities, if they're in pain, they can't take their pain meds and compete because they're performance enhancing. Can't have them. Drugging still counts, So we watch these people doing the Paralympics and we don't know what's going on. This year has been amazing because so many stories have come out. People have actually spoken about what they've gone through to get to those games, whether they've won medals or not, what that has meant to them, just being there, being able to compete and having the people around supporting and believing, and how that has supported them through, and the grueling things people have put themselves through to get to those Olympic Games, those Paralympic Games. It's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And that made me think, I haven't done a blog over the summer. It's been a break for everyone. And I just thought, no, I've got to say something about this, because the way we treat people seriously affects the way they believe in themselves. Now, my parents always believed in me. I didn't always believe in me, but they were always like, yes, you can be anything you want to be. So even when I doubted myself, it didn't stop me from trying something that I thought would be beyond me. I really didn't think I'd get a master's. And then I really didn't think I'd get a doctorate. But I believed in what I was studying, you know, trying to do something that makes people more aware and hopefully changes things. And I just thought, well, I can give it a go. You know, to me, failure isn't getting it wrong. It's not giving it a go and not seeing it through to the end. So even though there were times I desperately wanted to give up with the doctorate, I kept going, and largely that is because of my amazing supervisor. So she's just phenomenal. Now, that goes for teachers too. It's so, so important that we as teachers believe in the children we're teaching. I've seen it myself. I've seen people who will say, oh no, that child can't go on that trip because we don't know how they'll behave, and, you know, it's dangerous. And, you know, somebody who maybe have ADHD or something. If you give that child the chance and give them the responsibility and tell them you believe in them, it's amazing what they do. You know, this particular child I'm thinking of right now, the happiest time I saw him was on a particular trip that he very nearly didn't get to go on because his teacher didn't want him to. And it would have been very easy to say, oh, the risk assessment, no. But by giving that child a chance and believing in him and saying, yeah, you're going to love this, you're going to be amazing, he got so much out of it. It was worth every moment. It was just phenomenal, absolutely great. I've worked with a child with cerebral palsy he was a bit of a joker, to say the least, a bit of a weird sense of humour. And I couldn't believe it. In his previous school, we're talking in a primary school, in his previous primary school, he had been told off for his handwriting. This child proved to not only have cerebral palsy, but be really seriously dyslexic. His difficulties with the written word were way, way beyond mine. And yet this child was incredibly intelligent. When we walked around the school, sometimes this child would need to be in a wheelchair, not all the time. This child could walk. You could tell by his gait that there was something going on, but he could definitely walk, no problem. However, walking too much in a short space of time could actually, you know, would cause him even more pain. He was in constant pain. That was just a constant. That was just his life, his expectation. There would be pain. But some days he needed the wheelchair. If we were doing a particularly, you know, there were lots of going around the school doing this, and there also happened to be PE and games and blah. There was one time they went on a school trip, and there was a thing at the end, an assault course, and he desperately wanted to do the assault course. It was what he'd been looking forward to, but it was the last activity. So he was pushed around all day in his wheelchair, and some of the kids were like, oh, it's all right for you getting pushed around, you don't have to do that. What they weren't seeing is that there were things he wanted to do that he didn't do in order that he could have the energy and the pain levels to cope with the thing he wanted to do most. So he put everything else to one side and made a joke of it. I mean, he was one of the ones going, yeah, I get to be pushed around, yeah. He did it so that he could do the bit he wanted. And the children needed to understand that. And anyone who had a go explained that there was a reason for him being in the wheelchair. And it's important that we think beyond what we just see. And we look beyond what we just see. All sorts of disabilities can have amazing positive sides. Resilience, creativity, determination. I mean, if you look at somebody with autism, there's two ways. There's loads of different types of determination. But, for example, I've talked before about Rosie Mackman. Her drawings on the computer are just phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. Now, part of that is because she's got the focus and the determination to just do one layer and another layer and another layer and another layer. A lot of people would have switched off by then. They'd have been like, okay, you know, enough's enough. She'll keep going till it's right. And that requires this real focus that comes with her autism. In the same way, Greta Thunberg, with this, you know, international, worldwide campaign about the environment. What could matter more? It's so important that we get our environment right. Now, she's spoken herself about the fact that being Asperger's has actually helped her to have that black and white look at the world, this right and wrong, you know, sort of just this very direct look at the world and see that we're doing this, cause and effect. This is happening. We need to do something about it. And then that anger, and that's another thing. We get cross at the anger our children sometimes show. Now, anger, they've taken the behaviour off of the category of need for a reason. So you've got social, emotional, mental health, whereas you used to have social, emotional, behavioural difficulties. Now, behaviour is a form of communication. So if you've got somebody being angry, there's nothing wrong with being angry. Being angry is how the world gets changed, how we develop, how we progress. If we're angry about something that's unjust, we will do something about it. You know, Greta Thunberg, angry about what was happening with the environment, that's given her a drive to really push for things to be better. Anger can be positive. However, you know, anger, frustration, they can manifest themselves in ways in school that are not safe for other children and that need addressing. It's not about saying you shouldn't be angry. It's about looking below that, working out where's that anger coming from, where's that frustration coming from, can we ease the frustrations, what can we do to make it better? If it's just punish, oh no, get sent out, oh, get sent out. If we don't look at setting up these nurture situations where we look beyond that, we look at causes, what's going on, and look at, well, this is how we can direct the anger and the frustration, and this is how we can actually get to a point where you're not feeling those things and you're feeling these things instead. You know, we can look at that. A lot of the essays I've marked during the last week, and I have marked a lot of essays in the last week, have looked at setting up provisions within school, and I don't mean like a unit as such, I just mean spaces in school and people in school who've had the right training, and that's really important, to support people with emotional difficulties, with mental health issues. You need the personnel who can do it. You know, I'm not trained in that. That's not my area of expertise. So it wouldn't be for me unless I went on the right sort of training to provide the support within that unit. But we have people we can draw on, and we need to do that. We also need the funding to be sorted in the right way so that there aren't waiting lists of 18 months for CAMs and things like that. But so much can be done. It's got to start with belief. You know, if somebody can't write their ideas down, let them tell you the ideas, write them for them. Give them the technology so they can be independently, you know, Dragon Naturally Speaking and things like that, voice recognition software, so they can independently get their ideas down. Give them what they need to support them. You know, it might just be something as simple as a fidget string. It could be as simple as that. It could be a weighted cushion. It could be whatever they need to support them. But we need, beyond giving them the strategies, we need that basic belief. Yes, you can do it. Have high expectations. Why should you not be able to succeed because you have a hearing impairment, a visual impairment? You have emotional difficulties, you have physical difficulties. It doesn't mean you can't succeed. It just means we have to work harder at helping that success to happen. Thank you.